So as I mentioned earlier, after 9 days, the U.S. government is finally calling the consulate attack in Benghazi an act of terrorism. But here are the falsehoods being spread by Obama's UN ambassador, Susan Rice, during this past week.
This is a response to a hateful and offensive video that was widely disseminated throughout the Arab and Muslim world. We do not have information at present that leads us to conclude that this was premeditated or pre-planned. We don't see at this point signs that this was a coordinated, planned, premeditated attack. In fact, what this began as was a spontaneous, not a premeditated, response to what had transpired in Cairo.
All right, now all of a sudden they acknowledge it's a terrorist act. I want to know why Ms. Rice lied to the American public last week. Was it for political campaign reasons or what? Here now is the chair of the House Homeland Security Committee, Peter King, Republican from New York, who knows more about this than anybody. Peter, as always, welcome back. Was she lying? Was she lying? I mean, people knew that our counter-terrorist experts knew that this was going on. Was the White House lying? Did they send her out for political reasons?
I think they definitely sent her out for political reasons because the Obama administration wants people to believe that the war against terrorism is over, that the Obama administration basically has won the war against terrorism, and that it was just a few malcontents in the Islamic community, and that they do not want, with an election 5 weeks away, 7 weeks away, they did not want the appearance that al-Qaeda had come back and that al-Qaeda was still capable of fighting. The fact is al-Qaeda never went away. Some parts of al-Qaeda have been weakened, other parts are stronger, and they have a number of offshoots, such as Ansar al-Sharia, which was very actively involved in this. But, Larry, there was no way they could have honestly said this was not a terrorist attack. They could have said there's some confusion as to exactly who was involved in it. But when you look at that area, first of all, it was September 11th. Secondly, there was a heavy al-Qaeda presence in that area. There was a heavy Ansar al-Sharia presence in that area. There is a heavy AQIM, that's al-Qaeda in the Maghreb, presence in that area. Plus, there are a number of these Islamist militias that have tons of weapons that were left over from the Gaddafi government, rocket-propelled grenades, rockets, mortar rounds, all of that.
Plus, Peter, if all that wasn't bad enough, Ambassador Stevens himself had told people that he was on the al-Qaeda hit list. He was not. So you can, and look, the counterterrorist guy, Matthew Olson, he's the director of counterterrorism.
Right.
He pulled the plug on the administration publicly in hearings in the past week. I mean, this was a cover-up. I see this as a cover-up. Now they're coming clean. What's the penalty here? What does this mean? They can't be allowed to get away with this.
First of all of us are indebted to Matt Olson for what he did. And I give him tremendous credit for that. Secondly, it's really up to the American people right now because what the UN ambassador did, what Susan Rice did to us, basically is to let down our allies who think either we don't know what we're talking about or we're going to intentionally lie when it comes to foreign policy. And it's also going to embolden our enemies. I mean, you can't have, in many ways, a leading spokesman for the U.S. in the world, the UN ambassador, going out and telling a story which he had to know was not true. There's no way that anyone could have said that. I think the only real response right now is for the American people to realize how much this administration has politicized foreign policy and also how much it has failed. This foreign policy, despite what the president says, has not been a great success at all.
Why shouldn't she resign? Why shouldn't she resign? And by the way, Peter, you and I both know, we've worked in the government, you're still there. Mm-hmm. She gets her orders from Secretary of State Hillary Clinton. And Hillary Clinton gets her orders on something like this from President Obama. In other words, the buck stops at the very top. First of all, why shouldn't Rice be forced to resign right now?
Well, either she should fall on her sword. Probably the only reason why, Larry, is because she was doing what the president wanted to do. Mm-hmm. And really, it's the president who should be, the American people should vote against him because of that. Listen, she made the rounds of all those shows with the exact same talking points. I actually was there at Meet the Press when she showed up. She was totally structured as to what she was supposed to say, what she had to say. She carried out her orders, and doing that, she did a disservice to the nation.
Now, amazing thing to me, one of the organizers of this tragedy in our consulate there is this guy Sulfan Ben Kumu, if I'm pronouncing it right, which I'm probably not. But this is a guy who was let out of Gitmo in 2007 in the Bush administration's waning days, when I think they just kind of lost it. But he got out of Gitmo in 2007. And now from what I gather, and I want to get your take on this, Egypt is trying to negotiate so the so-called blind sheikh, who was the mastermind of the 1993 World Trade Center bombing, they want him to be let out of prison. How is this possible? How can anyone even consider this after what's just happened?
Well, on the first point of the Gitmo detainee, the administration knew he was there. We had testimony before my committee a year and a half ago about how active he was in eastern Libya near Benghazi. They knew he was there when they said there was no terrorist involvement. As far as the blind sheikh, a number of us, it was 8 committee chairmen and subcommittee chairmen, based on our own sources of information, people in the government, primarily in law enforcement, who told us that this is being discussed. We sent a letter to the Secretary of State and to the Attorney General asking them whether or not there is any discussion at all of the blind sheikh being transferred. The answers we got, Larry, they're too cute. The State Department says there is no plan at this time, and they're not aware of any recent contact from senior officials on this issue. So they're not denying it. All I have to say is that the blind sheikh will die in an American jail. No one is saying that. The only reason I can consider it, it's part of the president's whole apology to our approach. If we're nice to them, maybe they won't attack us.
You know, Peter, that gets us into so much trouble, as you have said many times, this idea of denying it. I just want to ask you one thing. Does this administration understand that there is still a war on terror going out there, and that the world, especially in the Middle East, is an extremely dangerous place, and it's extremely dangerous for America and American citizens? Do they understand that? Do they have any clue?
I don't think the president allows himself to think that. No, he feels that so long as he can pick off the occasional leader, that the Islamic community, the Islamic terrorists, are going to end up coming over to our side, or at least backing down. They're not. In many ways, Al-Qaeda is more dangerous today than it was on September 12th, 2001. Bin Laden is gone. Some of the top leaders are gone. Having said that, it's mutated. There's Al-Qaeda is spread throughout the Middle East. It's here in our country. And there's any number of Al-Qaeda offshoots. That war is still going on. They're ready to strike at a moment's notice, as they demonstrated last week. All
right, we'll leave it there. Homeland Committee Chairman Peter King. Thank you, Peter. Much obliged.
Right, thank you.
War of words tonight over charges the Obama administration is considering releasing the so-called blind sheikh, convicted of plotting terror attacks here in New York City. CBS 2 political reporter Marcia Kramer has the report.
Is the Obama administration weighing the release of the blind sheikh or his transfer to Egyptian custody? The sheikh, Omar Abdel Rahman, inspired the 1993 World Trade Center attack, a plot to blow up New York City landmarks, and issued the Islamic ruling that Osama bin Laden used to justify 9/11. House Homeland Security Chairman Peter King says he received word the release is on the table.
We have information from people in federal law enforcement who tell us that there have been discussions about if the blind sheikh were released, how it could be done.
Egyptian President Mohamed Morsi has called for the blind sheikh's release, and his supporters have participated in the recent riots. But the White House, the State Department, and the Justice Department have each issued statements denying there are any plans to free him.
Let me say as clearly as I can, there is no plan to release the blind sheikh. There is no plan. To my knowledge, we have not been approached about it recently by any senior Egyptians.
Weasel language. There is no plan. There's been no recent contact with high-level officials. The administration is being cute. All I have to say is that the blind sheikh will die in an American jail.
The man who prosecuted the blind sheikh, Andrew McCarthy, says the Obama administration would never hand the sheikh over to the Egyptians until after the election. It would be political suicide. But
I have no doubt that it's real. I think it's been real for months.
Some, however, think the issue is being raised now by Republicans to damage Obama.
Absolutely not political at all. I challenge anyone to ever find anything that I have done political when it comes to terrorism, counterterrorism, defending New York, and defending the United States.
Some experts say it will never happen.
I don't think it's possible. If you look at it in the context that Israel, one of our closest allies, has asked for the release of Jonathan Pollard, who was convicted of espionage decades ago, and the intelligence agencies have blocked any consideration of that. The idea that they would release the man who planned the multiple bombings of multiple locations in Manhattan, just not realistic.
The blind sheikh is currently serving a life sentence in a North Carolina federal lockup for conspiracy to wage war on the United States. Live in the newsroom, I'm Marsha Kramer, CBS 2 News.